Good evening and welcome to Stupid O'Clock News. I'm Lewis Lee. Fair warning, tonight's news story may be hard for some to hear. Former New York City mayor and personal attorney to President Donald J. Trump, Rudy Giuliani is fighting for his life in the press after an unflattering photo is released. The photo, a still from a soon-to-be-released Borat 2 movie, seems to show the political high roller lying on a hotel bed on his back with his hands in his pants in the presence of a young woman. Giuliani says he was simply tucking his shirt back into his pants after removing a wireless microphone that was used in an interview with a young lady who professed to be 15 years old. In the video, she's actually Sacha Baron Cohen's 25-year-old daughter and an actress. Giuliani, adamant that the photo does not show him masturbating as is assumed, released photos of him actually masturbating to show the difference. What a political genius. That's the news. Now on with the show.
Good night, everybody.
Boy, howdy.
Well,
At least you warned me so I could at least have it ready.
yeah.
That's, yeah, okay. I haven't heard that. When did this news break?
What about the picture or about him releasing his own pictures?
The picture or any of it?
Oh, that happened in the last 48 hours.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Borat 2?
I'm familiar with the premise of the thing. I haven't watched any of them.
Well,
I've still got brain cells. So
yeah, apparently Cohen's daughter somehow managed a one-on-one interview with Giuliani, got him in a hotel room, did the interview, which Borat actually, busted in on once or twice, and Giuliani did not recognize him because,
boy,
And so after the interview, the young lady and Giuliani go into the bedroom portion of the suite where he lies down and puts his hand in his pants. And that's where they got the still from. I guess we'll have to watch the movie to find out the full context of the action.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
not going to happen because I didn't even watch the first Borat movie.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and bring our crew on in. We got John over here. Hey, welcome, John. And there's
and John has developed a tic because of the disturbing nature of the story.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And there's Skunk.
Actually, I just posted that picture to Stupid O'Clock.
Oh, did you?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's going to go over
I
real
think one of our listeners.
I just want to say I watched the first Borat movie.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why I watched Borat. Was because Sacha Baron Cohen was a fan of his from when he did like the Ali G show and stuff like that. And so when I heard about Borat, I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's doing kind of a pastiche on the Middle East and on Middle Easterners and stuff. I don't know why they picked Kazakhstan. That's like I thought that was a poor example, but I guess it's because it's kind of funny and nobody really knows what it is. Even though it's a real country, I know the government over there was kind of PO'd about that. But I watched the first one and I was like, it's funny that it's funny because it's this
Like Arabic Jackass.
It's ridiculous the stuff that they pulled and how people reacted to it, and then I got about halfway through the movie and I realized, oh God, these are unscripted reactions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really seriously can't believe that he hasn't been seriously injured or killed yet in one of these pranks.
Yes.
I mean, don't screw with people. People are nuts.
Yep. All right.
And they will pop a cap in your ass.
To be completely fair, Lewis, he did get attacked on the third movie that he did. The Bruno.
Yeah.
He got attacked during that. He got attacked on that one because he messed with Eminem.
That'll do it.
All right. Now we're gonna.
Speaking of crazy.
Yeah. Now let's just totally grind some gears real quick and bring in our special guest. Mr. Jeffrey Hayes of Plasmafire Graphics. Where'd he go? There he is.
Nice try, Joe.
Well, Lewis started waving his hands, and I thought it was Jeff.
Oh,
So you punched yourself up.
Yeah. Oh, welcome, Jeff. Jeff is
Welcome.
with Plasmafire Graphics. But
Good evening.
before we go through, I almost messed my whole plot up because my guest I throw on the spot right at the beginning of the show with 3 big questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you all 3 questions and give you a chance to answer them in any order you want to. First one is, who are you? What do you do? And how the heck did you get suckered into this show?
Let's see. You blackmailed me. That's how I got suckered into the show. My name's Jeff Hayes. I have a company called Plasmafire Graphics. What was the second question, sir?
Who are you? What do you do? And how'd you get
What do
here?
I do? I work very hard at being retired, but basically I spend most of my time doing book covers and other graphics and videos and things like that, promotional videos.
Yeah. Carl,
So what you're saying is that you're going to be that this is the future I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
You have to really work hard, though, at being retired. I promise.
Carl Witzman asked, does Jeff know what he's got himself into? Not at all. Carly Carleen says, I'm thinking no, Carl. And then he goes, blackmail. That explains it all. Welcome to Corey Reese Keelan. And then there's this funny looking guy on here. Let me find
Another one?
something we can actually post up. Brian K. Morris of Rising Publications.
Your security is terrible.
Yeah, tell me about it. We'll just let anybody in there. And but the thing is, for everybody that sneaks in, we're so glad they're here. We really appreciate them being here. Oh, Brian's saying a prayer for you. It says, "May
I
God
appreciate
have
that.
mercy on your soul."
Well, Jeff was here when we started the show,
Yeah,
which meant that he was here during the intro,
yeah.
right? So because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I do like to toot my own horn.
No.
What did you think of the work that I did? Since
I saw y'all stuff. I watched last week as well, and Saturday's episode on YouTube. You do better work than I do.
I don't know about that.
Even with the pictures that we did this week, we had the family photo Saturday.
Oh yeah.
That was.
I meant
That's
just I meant just the intro video and the outro video. Which the outro video all I did was just throw credits over that. But the intro video, I sourced all of those. It took forever to find and did all the editing.
Yeah, finding rights-free stuff.
Yes.
It's like almost impossible. No, that's good. That's good stuff. I'll put it this way: I keep every project that I do right around a minute, because if it starts stretching beyond a minute, that's where I get out of my element.
Right. I actually, me personally, a lot of the projects I do on a personal level are I try to keep short because of what I do is this is fun. I remix scenes from movies and TV shows to make them funny. It's like I'll just change like a line of dialogue. Or something. I got the idea from you ever watch CinemaSins? They have these outtakes. They have the outtakes at the end of their videos because they'll go through. They make fun of the video. They say that every movie is worthy of sin, and so whenever they do something in the movie, like they do a cliche or they do something like that, they'll give it a point, and they'll go through and they'll basically make fun of the movie, for about 20 minutes or so. Longer if it's a big movie, like if it's like Lord of the Rings or the Avengers or something, it'd be like a 45-minute video sometimes. They had to split Back to the Future in half, the first one, because they had so much stuff to say. But at the end, they do these outtakes where they'll show like a scene for the movie, but they'll change the audio. So or like just as a just off. I don't even know if they've ever actually done this, but they'll do something like in a movie where somebody's handing somebody else a present. They're like, "Here, I got you something," and they'll change the audio to like Brad Pitt and Seven. Oh, what's in the box? Stuff like that.
Is it a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Citizen's a YouTube channel. I like them. I know some people.
Post a link on Stupid Skunk.
Yeah. And also, Lewis Lee there, our news director, is also has a video production company.
I do.
He
Documentaries.
Yeah, he does actual. He does actual work.
Yeah, he does.
I'm insidious.
Yeah, you've actually got a couple awards hanging behind you and over to the side.
Yeah.
Peabody is one a Peabody? Did you say
No, it's not a Peabody. 2 Edward R. Murrows.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, your company. Go ahead and throw out a plug for your plug, Dan. Lewis.
L2 Images.
Dan
L2
also
Images.
throw one out there.
It's actually L squared, but nobody ever got the fact that it was a superscript 2. Everybody called it L2 Images, but it's L squared for a nickname that I got when I worked at Channel 12 because I'm alliterative LL. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you worked professionally in news media.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was a TV reporter for 30 years. Been a radio reporter for 8 years. Reporter and anchor. Was the news director for 4 years. So, yeah. And I worked in newspaper before then. So I've been a journalist since high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
I worked, I was our public information officer for about 10 years. So I had a lot of good friends in our local media in the Austin area. So
who were you PIO for?
Well, first I was PIO for the Cedar Park Police Department, which is right on the outskirts of Austin, about 75,000 folks. And then I moved to another small suburb as an assistant chief of police. And I only did a couple of PIO things. I turned that over real quick to some other younger kids, let them do it. But doing that taught me a lot. And we had a good chief. You had mentioned last week, I think, on the show, your current chief of police has some issues with transparency.
Yes.
And I was lucky to work for a chief who actually won an award for his ethical conduct, national award. And one of the things he insisted upon was departmental transparency.
Well,
and that was
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that made him awesome to work for because that's the kind of police department I want to work for.
Yeah. Well, our immediate prior police chief was Fred Fletcher, who came from Austin.
He was
a captain in your department.
That's what I was going to say. He was a Yeah.
Yep.
I started with the Austin Hospital.
Well,
police
apparently your chief taught him well because while Fred Fletcher was here, the media was informed of everything that was going on, except, if it was a SWAT situation, obviously. But we knew about a shooting within an hour after it happened. We sometimes have to wait 36 hours for a press release on a simple shooting here now.
Now that's, when I moved up here to Leander as the assistant chief, I trained all my lieutenants to be PIOs and they went to outside training. But one of the things that my most recent chief, he insisted upon was very quick response. Don't make the media wait. The more, and this, the more the media stews, the
more they start to speculate, and the wilder the story gets.
Exactly.
So, how did you go from being a PIO and an assistant police chief to creating beautiful book covers?
Well, I've actually done artwork pretty much since I was, 10 years old, probably. I started off doing little, comic books and fan magazines like any, kid that age does, and really started doing some serious artwork. When I turned 18, 20 years old, I worked locally in Austin. So I've always done artwork. I worked for a grocery company. I did a lot of commercial art during the 80s. And about mid 80s, I got interested I started writing with my local, or with the Austin Police Department. And I rode with Austin for, too much. As a matter of fact, way too much. I probably every single weekend for 4 years. And I just got interested. One night, had a call that really sealed the deal for me, and went to our regional police academy and got my first job there in Austin. But I've never stopped doing artwork. Artwork has always been that thing that I could retreat from police work, with. Mm-hmm. And it also helped because I could draw body outlines. But I'm sorry. That's my one throwaway joke. Yeah. They didn't like the extra stuff I added, the word bubbles and things like that. But
47 different colors.
I should have ducked.
That's right. I should have ducked. That's good. I'm writing that down. I'm stealing that.
47 different colors of chalk. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. There were rainbows and clouds, and it was very unique. But
rabbit ears.
So your artistry.
That's right.
Your artistry came from drawing body outlines.
That's right. I'll claim that.
No, but I recovered from drawing chalk outlines.
Yeah.
So, are those some of your books behind you there?
I have a few. These are some of the covers I've most recently done. I have pretty much not everything. I worked for a independent publisher of new pulp fiction, and I did over about 125 covers with them. And I mean, and then I just work with independent authors. I like independent authors because they remind me of me. I like indie filmmakers. I like indie artists. I like people that don't get locked into a system so much that they aren't able to express themselves freely. So that's why you'll see me lean toward that the independent publishers and independent authors.
Now, Brian Morris just added in, it's easier to do body outlines with Photoshop.
That was a question.
Yes, it is.
Or is it easier to do it with Photoshop?
It is. Again, I start to get bored and I would add things, and that just didn't work well, especially if you had to go to court.
Yeah, but of course, that just falls into Brian's wheelhouse because he's a former mortician's assistant.
Yes, which frightens me, but I mean, I can't imagine that personality doing that. I can imagine that he needs that personality to do that. But man, that would be interesting.
For all you authors out here, study Brian K. Morris, because there's your character for the crazy mortician that for the Quincy. He would make a great Quincy character.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the character from NCIS, the British guy.
Ducky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would be a better Ducky, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. I think. He just got that attitude.
All right, Lewis just went and grabbed something. What'd you get, Lewis?
Oh no, I was just going to say I haven't designed a book cover, but I did design my my DVD cover.
Oh, okay.
So great. I'm going to need some help. Next time Next time I publish one of my documentaries, I'm gonna send the stuff to you and see if you can get me
Shoot me an email.
better cover.
That's good. Here, because you know how to use Photoshop and because you have a visual aesthetic, your work is going to be a little bit higher quality than a lot of the stuff I get in the emails that say, "Hey, can you fix this?" or "Can you?" I hate it because they send, they'll send something, and they say, "Can you fix it? Can you help me? Can you fix this?" And I'm like, I can redo it if you want me to.
I've always told people, my rate on artwork is $50 an hour, $150 if you worked on it first.
I'm trying to think. It's been a long time since I've had to. I like doing recovers. Matter of fact, my recent job that I did was for an author named Jim Beard, and he had just recently retained 2 properties that were previously published under an independent publisher. And he got those back, and he was writing a 3rd volume in that series. And so I don't know exactly how he got my name, but he did. And he was one of the best people to work for. But it was fun redoing that cover. And it's nothing, redoing covers is never an insult to the original artist. It's just I do it differently. And but I enjoyed that project. It was I scrubbed my brain of the previous covers because I had seen them before, and then just went from the information he gave me. And now I love the set. It's actually one of my favorite series of covers.
Yeah, that was going to be another question of mine. Is to really do a book cover, you kind of need to know what the book's about and draw from the text inside the book, don't you? I mean, do you actually read these books before you do the cover art, or does the author just kind of tell you what he wants?
It's kind of a mix. When I worked for a publisher, they would give me. I worked for Pro Se Press. Tommy Hancock. I don't know if you guys know him, but he would give me paragraph blurbs, if you will. Character descriptions, whatever was necessary. I enjoyed doing that. I don't know. I would never get feedback whether I was right on or miles off of what the author kind of maybe envisioned. But it's kind of a mixture. I enjoy getting information about the characters, and it's weird because I have this pre-printed thing now that I send to authors, and I say, describe the characters on the cover. Tell me what they look like. What do they wear? What do you see them? Because I want to try to honor the vision inside their head, but the very final line is always, when you wrote the character and you wrote your book, you have that image in your head of what they look like, how they sound, their facial expressions. They have all of that in their head, and mine will never mirror what they have in their head. It just won't. It'll be what's in my head. I've listened to audiobooks. Bobby Nash. I know you guys know Bobby Nash. And Bobby sent me his audio books, and I listened to those while I sat down and did artwork. That's a blessing because you get a kind of real heavy feel for the character then. But it's a mixture. I'm going to be honest. I don't usually have time to read books. I love audio books because I can turn them on, listen to them while I'm doing artwork. But I'm trying to get back. I have a lot of friends, and they're writing a lot of material that hasn't made it to audio yet. And so I'm trying to read those books because I like the characters. The Abraham Snow character that Bobby writes in his Snow series, I love that character. And I love doing the covers for that. Same thing with Jim Beard's Sergeant Janus series that I just finished. I love that character. So that I can really sink my teeth into characters and stories that I get behind, and my work will show. I mean, if I had planned to talk about this, I could show you one that I did just to get it done, and one that I really, put in overtime on, much more than what they ended up paying for, because I loved it. I love the character. I love the story, or I love the genre.
Mm-hmm. You and I have a similar problem, and we're trying to make money on something that we love to do, and it's a lot of times hard to put the appropriate price tag on it.
Yeah, and
because you would honestly, if you didn't have bills to pay, you would honestly do it for free.
Absolutely.
But you've got to figure out how many jobs is it going to take to pay the bills today, So
I will tell you this, and I've heard
really,
this.
What is your time work?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Hard.
It is hard.
It boils down to what is your time worth?
That's right. And lately, I've, because I lean toward independent authors, my pricing is geared more around what they can afford.
Yeah.
But I also try to keep it realistic to the time that I'm spending on the project. An example is years back, I had an independent author contact me, and he wanted this major battle scene on the cover of his book. And, he wanted, somewhere around my low end price for it. And I was trying to explain to him, I said, all of those characters doing all of those things that you want them to take a lot of time. And there's no way I can do that for you. Mm-hmm. So I try to keep kind of a base price that I give everybody. But then if it starts to escalate due to number of people, number of objects. Say it's even an air battle, a World War II air battle or something like that. That's going to be extensive. So right. It's going to start to creep up there. But yeah. So I learned something recently. You talk about it's making some money at it is what I want to do. I'm never going to earn a living at it. And that's just not going to happen.
See, that my wife said, you're going to make a living at it because you're going to start charging what you're worth. And so I was able to semi-retire by charging what she suggested that I charge. And it's worked out very well so far. But let's stay with you. What do you use? Pen and paper or tablet?
Well, when I started out,
old school.
Well, a little bit of both, but mostly new age, and that's gotten me in a bind with some of the old school guys. Way back in the dawn of time, when I really started doing work, was there were no computers, and so I cut my teeth on what I call what's pen and ink work.
Yeah.
And I worked for two gaming companies in the Austin area. One was one's still in business and one is out of business. One is called Metagaming, and they created tabletop games and role-playing games. And then another, a split-off company from that became Steve Jackson Games. And I did what was called dollar per inch artwork. And it wasn't dollar per inches of what I drew. It was dollar per square inch of what it ended up in the booklets or things like that. So I could draw a poster size image, and it could be shrunk down to 2 inches. I'm getting $2 for it,
Yeah,
but
that's a great way to do it, because that way you're shrinking imperfections.
Yeah.
I was in printing for a long time.
Absolutely, that still applies. What's that?
That brings something to mind. If you're doing a book cover. I mean, assume it's a wraparound, like a front cover, spine, and back cover. What size do the publishers ask for?
So right now, the kind of common self-publishing dimensions are 6x9. So and depending on obviously the spine is going to be depending on the the length of the book. But so what I do with that is I'll build that basic template, and then I still use the principle of shrinking down as cleans it up, tightens it up. So then I'll double that size, and I'll try to work in that. So 24 by 12 by 24 if it's a full wraparound. I try to, even though they're paying for a front cover, I still try to do a semi wrap with cover, spine, and a little bleeding into the back, just to give them a little bit more bang for their buck. I also try to work with them when I can. Is I like to build the complete cover for them, and then I offer that up. I charge just that much more, if at all, sometimes, because then I can build their graphics, I can build the text blocks, I can build everything in such a way that my artwork just hand in glove with it, and it gives them a better looking cover many times.
Do you find you're doing more ebooks and paperbacks than hardbacks?
Paperbacks. That's pretty much that's what the guys in independent. Very, very few hardbacks. I've done a couple recently that are just resizing the cover. I didn't answer your previous question. I apologize. I now work completely digital. About 10 years ago, I went to a summer class at a art school just south of here, and they taught me how to paint in Photoshop. And I used Photoshop like pretty much just like anybody would use Photoshop. But then I learned how to paint in Photoshop, and a Corel painter. I learned how to use that. Once I learned that summer, matter of fact, I sat in class. It was frustrating because they would teach, and my brain would be going, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to do stuff now. And then I'd go home, and then I'd work till 1, 2 in the morning, and then go back to school the next day. But from that class on, that summer class on, in 2008, I never looked back. I have not done pen and ink. I barely sketch on paper anymore. I'm completely digial. And
2008. I mean, you were on the leading edge of digital graphics then.
The gentleman that taught me is named Roger Barcelone, and he was an illustrator from the late 50s. He went through. He's an insane artist. I just go quiet when he works because he's just so incredible to watch. But this man was in his, I guess this would, he's in his late 70s, so he would have been in his 60s when he was teaching this class. He did not hesitate. This man worked in pen, ink, marker, acrylics, oils, whatever the medium was, and that's all he used in his professional career. When when programs began to catch up, he didn't hesitate. He was just one of these guys that wasn't scared of technology.
It was a new kind of pen.
Exactly. And
it was a non-permanent pen. So if he was prone to say, "Oh, I wish I'd gone a little lighter on that stroke," Control Z is your friend. Absolutely. And I use it. This hand sits on the keyboard, and this hand has the stylus in hand, and I've got I use a Cintiq, Wacom Cintiq now. Yeah, well, I need to get another Wacom because I got a Veek and I'm not liking it. But I like that it's got programmed buttons, and this one right here is Control Z. Yes. And you don't waste valuable time.
Right, paper or ink or paint.
Oh yeah, because those
a couple $100 worth of
consumables are expensive.
Absolutely. And then you have that
like turpentine. Hey,
that's right. And the best thing commercially, if you will, that I've learned is if you, like when I was working for the publisher, I would turn in a project and they would say something. I'll just, oh no, I got it. His jacket is black and gray. It's not brown and tan. And I'd go, okay. And because I would have it back to him in less than 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. But if I were doing that in a traditional format, you know,
scratch just about.
After I drank, I would drink a little, and then I would start into it. But no, I love that kind of stuff. But it has cost me, and I will tell you now. I almost did something I'm not going to do. So there's a publisher, independent publisher, who I've never done artwork for, but I've done artwork for all of many of the authors that they publish. They have an art director who is old school, came up through classic illustration, comic books, things like that. Won't touch me. You know, I don't know. I don't know why. I kind of get a feel that it's because my work is digital, and I don't know. Maybe in his mind, maybe he has no problem with it. Maybe it's me. No, but other than that, you know, my authors don't care. Tommy Hancock, he did not care because he knew how much I could turn a cover around so much faster, and faster is cheaper, and so I'm over that non-traditional stigma anymore. I could care less. I'm digital. I will never go back. I love it. I want to learn more. I'm constantly watching YouTube channels and of different artists, how they do their work, adapting my style. I just got asked to do a series of covers that I never dreamed I would get a chance to do for an author who I absolutely admire. And all of his covers are a very comic book style. And I haven't done a comic book style cover in, you know.
I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
You said you would watch the videos for YouTube. Now, to somebody coming along, you know, in the early stages of learning the artistry, would you recommend YouTube to people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there are so many artists that are good teachers. Now, you'll know the difference the moment you start watching their videos. Yeah. If they do little or no talking and they just want you to watch them draw or paint, that's not your good instructor. The instructor that's talking constantly and who will give you time and show you little simple things. There's so many of the guys out there, many professionals. You know, the internet has opened the door to artists all over the world. So even comic book artists who could count on working, say, for Marvel or DC or IDW or whoever, they are now fighting for ground because these companies are now hiring from China, from Russia, from here or there because they can communicate on the internet. And digital work is quick, easy, and beautiful. Yeah. And so the competition's, you know, much more fierce now. So those guys are trying to find other avenues of, you know, to make some money, but also just keep their name out there. And instructional videos, Joe, there's so many. You could ask simple questions. You know, how to digitally paint an eye, and you'll find 5 videos. I guarantee you. Yeah. But yes, YouTube is a great tool.
So look for I want to say the Bob Ross style artist,
little trees
that describes how to do it. Would that be?
Absolutely? And just when we're done tonight, go on and look up something like digitally digital painting, comic book digital painting, or comic book digital coloring tutorial.
Do you have any tutorials on YouTube?
I don't yet. I find it very hard to. I know Brian K. Morris is he's like going insane right now because he has told me I need to do this kind of stuff. I don't even have very good videos of me doing my work. I need to do that. I'm learning a lot from people like Brian. So give me a couple of months and we'll see what happens.
All right, you got 2 months.
Okay.
Well,
give me the end of the year. Give me the end of the year.
Let's do something by Christmas. Okay.
I will tell you, StreamYard is the way to go. You can actually, if you've got like your desktop and a laptop, you can actually run both of them together to record your video.
Yeah, I saw. I think I was looking as I entered the thing tonight. It showed different options of what you can do. I've got the equipment. I've got the processing power. I've got everything I need to do it.
It's just pulling that trigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
plus, would you want to? Yeah. The beauty is I could shoot over my shoulder, or I could, capture what I'm doing. They don't have to look at my ugly mug. So
I've got the face for radio and the voice for print.
Yeah.
So
I actually.
What are you getting at, Joe?
Yeah.
I'm ugly. I'm ugly and I talk funny.
Well, we love you.
Brian K. Moore says, my videos aren't that great, but here I am. Actually.
But you have a sparkling personality, Brian. That's what makes your videos so great.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. No, actually, the first night that we started live streaming, I discovered YouTube. And we got to
never been the same.
And we discovered StreamYard. Excuse me. We discovered StreamYard, and we just got on and just started playing. 4.5 hours later, we decided. You think
it's about time to go to bed? Yeah.
Yeah. You think we need to go to bed?
Yeah. That was a good first attempt. Now, Jeff.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what do you think is your holdup from being able to do those kind of videos? Are you uncomfortable with talking as you work, or tooting your own horn?
No, a little bit of that. The artist. I'm an artist. That's my problem. I don't. You get to deal with that. What's it called? Brian calls it the imposter syndrome. But I just don't. I think he said when he had mentioned that I should do this, I think my response was something like, "I just never thought that would interest anyone. I don't see how that would be interesting, or the imposter syndrome kicks in, and if I commit it to video, then they're going to know I don't know what the heck it is I'm doing." But I will tell.
I run into that when I'm trying to self-promote my stories after I've got something published, and I'm going, "This is so embarrassing." Let somebody read it and them tell you if it's good or not. Okay, I'm prejudiced. Right. It's mine.
But because I'm working. Well, I'm going to give Brian credit. He's probably going to hate that I'm saying this. I got friend to friend to friend, connection to connection. I got a hold of Brian, and I'm so glad I did, because listening to him, watching Clever Title Pending, I realize a lot of the same mentality is there in creatives, whether you're in filmmaking, whether you're a writer, an artist. We create something a lot of times, and it's very difficult to put it out there, because it is our baby, and there's today especially there's always somebody that wants to tear you down.
Yeah.
I mean that, but now I'm getting over that. Little steps, baby steps. because I am interacting with so many authors. I am interacting with mentors like Brian. I'm understanding this. I'm not the only one who thinks like this. But the truth is, what you said is exactly right. Do your work, do it to your satisfaction, put it out there, because it will never please everybody. It will never ever make everybody happy. There's always going to be detractors. There's going to be people that will read it and be mad that they didn't they didn't have the courage to even set words down on paper, if you will, of their ideas. Where when you have completed a project, when you've completed a short story or a novel, there's jealousy drives a lot of that negativity, I'm finding. But I know I will. I think I heard this said by an artist. He says, kind of your ability to self-analyze, know yourself. If the better you can know yourself, the more relaxed you'll become, and the more courage you'll have to get your work out there, you put your work out there for review, criticism, or what have you. But again, that does not come without community. I think even like Stupid O'Clock, sitting here talking to you guys and or watching Brian and other shows, I'm learning that you need that community because you support each other. And if you don't have, if an artist or a creative, I'll say creative, that's a better term. If a creative doesn't have some sort of support system, then they only have the words in their head. And you can create some pretty negative words about your work in your head. But yeah, it's. But
I am my own worst enemy.
Absolutely. I think all creatives are. One of the reasons I gravitate toward independent authors, one of the strongest reasons, is simply because I feel that kinship. And so I love giving them covers that they never would imagine that they would be able to have without spending a lot of money, or having a what I call, the off-the-shelf covers, like where they go to a website and say, oh, that kind of looks like, would fit my story. And then they'll pay, man, I've seen some prices, $200, $150, $200, when they could, get, when I'm happy to help them get a cover, do their cover layout, do their title graphics, all of that work, and give them something they never expected and they'd be excited about. Same thing with the videos. The promotional videos are the same, in the same vein. I love doing those simple videos that are hopefully as professional as I can make them, to give them something that they would never imagine having. That's a payoff to me.
Yeah, your videos are amazing. There's some beautiful work. The ones I've seen on Brian that you've done for Brian are just fantastic. And the Plasmafire Graphics, it may accidentally slip into some showings at Halicon next weekend.
Oh, I appreciate that tremendously. And I'm not going to claim that that all of that is me. Like, for example, there are packages out there that I'll purchase and then customize. So that commercial you have, I would love to claim that I did that in After Effects, but no, that's a package, and then I just populate it with my materials, cap it, with my graphics. But then, like Brian's, give you an example there. I just get into the story, like his scripts of Bachelor's Grove. Example. Then I love that. I love doing it because my brain kept going, okay, how can you create that feel of the eeriness of Bachelor's Grove with just a few photographs that aren't of Bachelor's Grove, by the way. now he's going to go, I can't show it ever again. Jeff just revealed that it's, but doing, little special effects, little After Effects things. There's a lot of fun in producing a little package like that and giving it to folks for a little tiny bit of money. Usually only, honestly, it's going to get me in trouble, I'm sure. My wife is watching. My business manager is watching from the other room. She's going to come in here and strangle me. At least it'll be on video. I usually only charge for those videos enough to pay for the narration, some licensing on the music, and some licensing on sound effects or visual effects in some cases. That's it.
So who does that voiceover? Is that you or
no? That's a gentleman in the Netherlands. Believe it or not,
that's the great thing about the internet. You can literally outsource everything.
Yep. And I cannot. His name is Thomas, and that guy. I don't know if he must stay up extremely late. I've never compared times. Every time I send him a piece of work, within probably 2 hours, he has the package back to me.
I think Netherlands is 8 hours ahead of you.
I'm about to go look it up.
Because it's 6 hours, it's 7 hours ahead of us, and you're in Central Time. So
yeah, so that makes sense. He's probably sitting at home in front of his computer working on his projects, and pops my email, and so.
Well, Jeff, I got another great voice for you. I mean,
yes.
The guy does some absolute great voiceover work.
What's his name? What's his initials?
It's this guy right here.
See, that's great, though. Yeah. That's a good resource.
I mean,
I've got a studio right here in the house. So, yeah, my wife does voiceover too. She's been in radio for quite a number of years.
Wow.
Yep.
But definitely get a hold of Lewis for some voiceover work. And also I forgot about his wife doing voiceover work too. Mm-hmm. So there's your good male, female voiceover together.
And that, I will tell you this. I never thought I would ever need voiceover work until I started listening to Brian's work and learning that these videos are also podcasts and things like that. I could knock out a video. Even like if you notice, my video has no voiceover. That's because it's old enough. I hadn't learned my lesson yet. But I will not produce another video without a voiceover. So Lewis, shoot me an email, or Dog can get me your email.
I'll get your email from Joe.
Thank you, because I will not produce another promo without a voiceover. I won't, because there's a young lady author that Brian, Cindy Kep, and I learned that from watching her video, and then I guess it was just came out on one of the morning shows. We have voiceover, so it can be played on a podcast. And I went like, ding, I didn't sit there and go say, oh, thank you for the great idea. I went like, should have known that, but I'll never go back.
There are a surprising number of videos, promotional videos, product videos that are coming out that have no voiceover. And I'm like, okay, I've got two friends who are blind. Those videos are totally missing a market. So
exactly. No. Again, the artist brain, not the video producer brain. And certainly I never kind of put that in the context of listeners. You know what I mean? The visual guy. And so I never thought about listeners until the past couple of months, maybe about 2 months ago. And then it was finding talent. So now I'm hooking up with more talent because of this. Again, it's that community that we're creating, and meeting you guys and understanding what you guys do. And the thing is, I found out that it worked when I did other projects, but I never dove into it like I have recently, because I'm getting a bigger kick out of it, especially with the people I'm meeting and some of these authors. I wish I could jump in my car, drive for 20 minutes, and visit them. But going to a convention or hooking up is going to be difficult. It'll be a one major event to do it. But the internet allows us.
No, StreamYard is the way to go.
I agree.
You can do everything you want to do with the two of you in one room on two different screens, and there you are.
I agree. And again,
I want to thank you about the suggestion for voiceovers, because for my most recent book, I did a little video ad that's nothing but a slideshow. It never occurred to me that I could just sit there and read the text that I put on the slideshow and make it more impactful.
Absolutely. I mean, and if you get a voice like Lewis or like Thomas that can here's an example. Thomas on that scripts a Bachelor's Grove video, I sent him the little script. I think it was like 65 words total. I told him kind of, here's the tone, here's the feel. It needs to be under 45 seconds, I believe, or something like that. And then he throws his creative spin on it by doing that echoey kind of reverb, whispery, creepy sound. And so he sends it back and he says, okay, I did 3 versions for you. The last one has kind of a whispery, scary sound. I listened to the last one first and never heard the first 2 ever. I've never listened to them because it was so awesome. I said, that's it. Boom. And I threw it in that video and I never, it was like, this is gorgeous. And then of course I got more ideas for it. Threw in some more whispering at the end and creepy child sounding whispering. And that narration and that little twist he put on it made the video, really. And again, it's good to find these resources because I would never have done it. I can make a pretty little video, but you have to have that narration now. You have to.
And one of these Edward R. Murrows behind me was for a piece that I did, a radio news piece that was 2.5 minutes long. But the big difference about it, I wanted to do an NPR style piece. Mm-hmm. So in addition to the narration and the interviews, I had background sounds the whole way through. At one point we were talking about kayaking downtown Chattanooga because we got the Tennessee River runs right through the middle of downtown, and you can kayak downtown. You can take a lunch break and go paddle for half an hour and still be back at your office in time. And so, you're constantly hearing that water, that paddle hit the water, and you hear the boat bump against each other, and just little sounds like that put you, without having to see any of it, okay, your brain is putting it all together. And so you've got the words, but you've got the ambient sound that's filling out that picture without one frame being shot. So,
and I love, do you watch, a lot of people don't get into this, but I do, like behind the scenes of movies and television shows.
Please.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm not just an addict.
No, we're not geeks at all, are we?
Excellent. I love it. Thank you. I'm so glad. Well, I love watching shows about sound design. And I love the multi-layer of sound design. And those guys are incredible. And again, the artist brain, where I've just started doing these promotional pieces, I'm again watching videos, trying to pay a lot of attention to behind the scenes stuff. YouTube for some training. But that sound design, again, because I'm a visual oriented person, that part of my brain just isn't as rich as it is for people like you that work in a field like when you're in radio, I know I had some good friends with our FM news here in Austin, and they understand where to take you to do the interview. To get you with that ambient noise that makes sense. But I didn't think like that. I'm trying to, but I didn't think like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the early days, we only had like a 4, or maybe if you were working for a really good company, an 8-track mixer.
Right.
Okay. And so you were kind of limited, and you would have to do overdubs if you wanted more sound than that. Well, now with Adobe Audition, you've got virtually unlimited tracks, and you can put a little whisper sound on one track, and you can layer the sound so richly, so easily, that I mean, all you need is the imagination and the source material.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can create your own source material.
There was an audio thing that I did for it was for Stephanie Osborne for her Displaced Detective series, and I put it on as a bonus track on my Bandcamp. So basically, I found a public domain of The Final Problem, where Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty have their duel at the Reichenbach Falls, and this tied into the book that Stephanie had written. And I put all this stuff together. And I had to go and find sound effects and stuff like that, and put in my own music, because basically the album I did was a soundtrack for her first 4 books in that series. And this was Sir John Gielgud as Sherlock Holmes, and now I'm having aphasia. The fellow that did War of the Worlds broadcast, Orson Welles.
Oh, Orson Welles, yeah.
Orson Welles as Moriarty, and I put in all these sound effects, and then spliced in the public domain stuff from their radio play, and along with my music in the background, and it stretched out to like 18 minutes long, but it's a really awesome piece of work. I do say so myself, because I impressed myself with it. I didn't think I could pull it off, but I finally did. But it was not the program y'all are using, but the music program I was using, so that I could mix in different audio tracks. So I had like a 32-track mix. Wow. Basically, by the time I got through, most of that was the music, but there were like 5 or 6 different special effects and audio tracks mixed in, along with the symphony orchestra and all that other stuff that I did when I composed the music. And la-di-da. Not to blow my own horn, but it's one of those things I'm very proud of having accomplished, but I don't know that I could do it again. It was very, very complex, and it took almost 2 days to do.
Putting it together is kind of always a labor of love, but today getting those sound effects and I'll always pay for music, because I found out just reading that now there are these companies that work for attorneys' offices, we'll say, that will go out and they'll run their little algorithm on the internet, and they search for music violations, through YouTube and things like that. And so I try to always pay for that music when I can. I use some rights free but I can't. So you can't even trust that anymore when somebody says, "Hey, feel free to use this, right? Rights free. Don't worry. I do it because I'm benevolent." Because they've gotten it from somewhere else. So I'll pay for the licensing and the music. I try to get sound effects for free. I like the idea of creating them. I probably need to get me a nice digital recorder, or the phone is pretty flexible now. But to do something that rich anymore, it's
that's what I recommend. It's about $200. It's a Tascam. It's got the built-in mics. You can use them like this, or if you want good stereo separation, you can use them like that. And I highly recommend getting a dead kitten for it as a windscreen.
Yeah. That's a tribble. I call it a tribble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And how much was that?
This has been a lifesaver. It's about $200.
I like that.
Zoom has one that's about the same price, or maybe a little bit cheaper. Zoom brand. Tascam has been in the recording business since magnetic tape has been around.
Yes,
so
indeed.
This company, and I've had this one for I think 7 years now. The DR40 is still on the market, still selling like gangbusters, and you can do overdubs right in it.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
You can use a phantom powered mic. It creates its own phantom power on channel 1. It just unbelievable. If you want to do any kind of field recording, that's Tascam DR40.
All right, we have reached an hour with our guests.
Oh wow, that went fast.
That went real fast.
Really?
Now, Jeff,
you're fun to talk to.
Here's where we go. You said you were only going to put up with us for 45 minutes.
Well, that was a President 60 Minutes joke. I'm just was being silly. But
okay.
You've got me all evening.
All evening. Okay. Do you mind if we go back to the stupid o'clock format, to where everybody's up, almost everybody has their own little screen, and we just roll into our.
The Brady Bunch.
In other words, we're going
Brady
to
Bunch
demote you to normal.
Yes.
I don't know. He's awful pretty. We got to leave him up.
Yeah. Let's put him into the good spot right there.
Well, there is no center square really now, but
not at the moment. But if we had some more people join,
hint.
Stop touching me.
But thank you for being here. Oh, before we do that, let's do this. Let me find you here on the screen. Let's go with let's hear your deets.
Shameless plug time.
Shameless plug
time.
Let me give you my website, plasmafiregraphics.com. Pretty straightforward.
I've already put it on 2 o'clock. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. And you can contact me through the website. I'm also on Facebook, Plasmafire Graphics on Facebook. I'm open for commissions right now. I was in school, but the coronavirus is kind of taken us out of the school setting right now, so I have a lot of spare time. So I'm taking commissions, and they can contact me through the website or through Facebook.
Yeah. All right. And I actually used that moment to steal a chicken nugget real quick.
I figured you were eating chicken. That's why you keep shamelessly plugging the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, now, how did you like the intro theme for Stupid O'Clock?
I like everything about Stupid O'Clock. And
that was one of my
all your that was yours?
Yeah. I put that together with the computer program I used to compose music, and then Skunk remixed it and put the graphics to it, and it just so happens I need to apologize to Skunk, because for months I had complained that the audio was too loud and stuff was being drowned out. I got an update to my audio system here on the laptop and had to crank the volume down in order to have everybody else's voices be a normal volume. And all of a sudden, I hear exactly what Skunk did, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I had the same needlessly.
I had the same thing happen with the most recent video I did for Brian for his Volcana book. I produced it, listened to it, cranked up the sound because it seemed like it was very quiet, or more quiet than previous packages I'd sent him. And I just had a Apple OS update, and it did something to the sound, and I watched it on the show, and I went like, uh-oh, that was a little too loud. But I guess it's he's fine with it. He hasn't sent it back or sent me any weird packages. So.
Well, Skunk, I apologize. I was wrong. You were right, as usual. And you did a wonderful job.
What do you use to compose?
It's called music.
How many H's?
It's a really old program.
Well, it was a really old program. It's been updated several times, and every time it gets updated, they give me new sound files to play with. It's basically like playing with audio tinker toys. You have different loops of things that you can piece together, and using these little basic building blocks, I can create 32 track, 64 track, whatever I want, orchestral or rock and roll or whatever pieces. And this one for Stupid O'Clock tied in sound effects and voice effects, and as well as different musical instruments and whatnot. And I'm working with these teeny tiny things where you get like dudump, 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 and those are like 4 different Lego bits, and I've strung them together for different instruments, and it turned into this thing, and which has taken on a life of its own. Wasn't what Joe Dog wanted, but is what he got stuck with.
I am not musically inclined, so.
Well, I've been in concert band and marching band and jazz band and whatnot all through school, and I actually can read music, although I can't play very many instruments well. I play a couple of dozen, not very well, but I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't know how I'm doing it.
I can play woodwind instruments.
I do that every day. Every day.
I'm a drummer, so I just have to be angry.
Or stoned, like that guy from.
Yeah.
I'm fantastic. I play the radio and get all sorts of music out of it.
Dang.
You can turn the volume up. Turn the volume down.
Let me show off something Jeff did because I really like this one.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I like that.
You notice who the name at the bottom is, perchance.
Yeah.
I've heard that lady before.
Yeah, she. I think I've heard of her before. As I'm looking at all your book covers, Jeff.
Oh, so you've actually done one of Stephanie Osborne's books?
One?
Try like 160.
Here's the problem. That was when I worked for Prose Press.
Yep.
And sometimes I actually never even talk to the author. And I don't, unfortunately. I did get a nice email from her, though, kind of a humorous email on that cover.
That sounds like Stephanie. Okay.
She says, she goes, where's that light source coming from in that tomb? And of course, and then she puts like, snicker, snicker, snicker. And so, but yeah, again,
without a light source, we don't see your protagonist. Shut up.
That's it. It's a little artistic license there. Yeah. No, I love Sherlock Holmes, so I love doing Sherlock Holmes covers. I've done about 5, and I have a model that I photograph and work from, and so you'll see I mean, when I do a Sherlock Holmes, 90% of the time, it's him as my model. I did
Basil
recently.
Rathbone or
No, it's actually a friend of mine.
Oh,
and,
really?
And yeah. So like many of my covers. No, I'd say most of my covers. I photograph. I have photograph resources. I have a photo room upstairs that I created in a spare bedroom, and I'll bring them over. For example, I did a long series of westerns.
I was just looking at those. Strangely enough,
the Gunsmith.
Yes.
Yeah. I love doing that series. Well, for lots of reasons, and I'm sure my wife is asleep in the recliner now, so I can say this because of the women on the covers.
Oh yeah, a lot of scantily clad women.
Show, Don, show.
Oh, okay. Let me find a good one.
Share and tell.
Where's that good one? There's a good one. Okay. This one. I'm going to get him in trouble. I'm going to get him in trouble with his wife on this one. I'm pretty sure.
Let me zoom in here.
She's seen them all.
Yeah,
Let me see if we zoom in.
What I was going to say about Stephanie Osborne, she is one of our.
That's right. Are you sure that's not a romance novel?
She had a 38. She had a 45.
This guy, this guy writes westerns with a heavy lean to encounters, if I'll put it that way. So he had requirements like every on the cover has to have scantily clad women. That was his requirement.
Wow.
I heard that.
That ain't it.
But the young lady,
look at this on plane.
The young man there was a model out of Austin. Actually, I'm sorry, out of Austin, and his name was William. And we came up and shot, and I'm not joking when I say this, over 3,000 different photos.
Wow.
Good grief.
I paid him for
digital
2 days. Yeah, absolutely. And he did costume changes, and he everything, grew a beard, everything I needed to him to do to have that reference material. That's one of the Sherlock Holmes. That's the model I use.
A bit like Basil Rathbone, I'm telling you.
A little bit. If he had a skinnier, longer nose.
Yep.
I have another Jeremy Brett from the television Sherlock Holmes.
That would be one that would appeal to Stephanie.
Yeah, I would think so. And
no, that
I have an author. Is it really? And I have an author named Nikki Nelson Hicks, who I do work for, and she loves him.
We know.
Do you really?
I'm sure Blake does, and
I
I've got
Nikki. I love that cover, by the way.
Which one?
This Snow by Bobby Knapp.
Snow. Yeah, that's a interesting little project. So I asked him last year. I was bored, and I said, I asked Bobby. I said, "Hey, can I do a poster and just make up a bunch of scenes?" And he says, "Oh yeah, of course," because he's a great guy. And so I did all that work, and then when I gave it to him, he says, "Oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to write a story about each of these scenes." And so we're now
So
we
you
collaborate.
just created a storyboard for his book.
Yes, for his second series. So yeah, I'm sure I won't get paid. But anyway,
you ever wonder if a writer looks at your artwork and goes, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Man, I can only hope so. This is what I believe. I think I'm going to get in trouble. Writers are sometimes frustrated artists, and artists are frustrated writers. Because I'd love to be able to write. I can't.
Some of the best stories have the worst artwork, and some of the best artwork has the worst story.
It can happen. That's the nature of the beast. Yeah. But it's funny that Bobby and I. It's weird because Bobby is so good at self-promotion and promoting his books, and his books are good. As a matter of fact, I think the Abraham Snow character could easily be turned into a series on
like Remo Williams' Destroyer. You know,
yeah, absolutely, right on the
I love those books.
Yes, absolutely, love that's the era I grew up in, and I grew up looking at those covers. Bruce Minnie, James Bama, those artists. Oh gosh, my brain just clicked off.
One of my early favorites were the Doc Savage Man of Bronze series. I used to love those book covers too. And
James Bama, one of my faves. Yep, absolutely. We have a company or a store that was started here in Austin, and I think I'll just say in the 70s. I was a little bit younger, and I would go into this it was called Half Price Books, and they had a wall of paperbacks. The way the shelf, they would go to literally to the ceiling, and you had to climb up on the ladder to get stuff. But I would stand there in front of this wall of paperback books, and I would just study the covers, and I would see, Doc Savage, the Shadow magazines. I love the Shadow. Those guys that did that work and did it day after day after day introduced.
What? Hold on a minute. We're trying to bring you full screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fired.
But those guys are the, oh God, I'm going to date myself again about asking this question. TV Guide. We used to get, obviously, TV Guide every week, and the covers of those TV guides, sometimes were photographs, but most of the time were illustrated by some incredible guys. And I used to cut them all out.
Get it together, Joe.
Dan, we're live.
What?
Poor Joe Dog.
Your mic was hot, Dan.
Yeah, I know. I told you to get it together.
Dan wasn't, but his mic was. Okay.
Yeah, we have to mute Dan when he gets up and leaves. But the problem is his internet comes in.
It's so slow. We'll hear him for the next 20 seconds after he's walked off and we muted his mic.
He comes in buckets.
Finally, he'll come back and the mic will finally mute.
Let me guess. Getting in and out of that chair probably makes as much noise as I do.
I the bathroom flushing the toilet, actually.
Oh, come on. I shut the door on my way out of the room.
We know.
If you can hear the toilet at this distance.
That's funny.
Yeah, Dan,
you're probably nosy.
Yeah, Dan's internet comes through string and tin can.
I'm going to embarrass Jeff here. I know I am. It's a guess. It's a psychic guess, but I know I'm going to embarrass him. You were a big fan of Heavy Metal Magazine.
Yes, I was. That's not embarrassing.
And 1984 and 1985. I bet you. Do you remember those? They were competitors. They were an American competitor.
Yeah, I kind of do. Because I'm old.
Welcome to the club.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not older than Dan and me.
Welcome to level 50 something. Yeah.
So, there's a part of the 80s that I don't remember. Okay. I just don't remember that part of the 80s for lots of different reasons we won't go into. But
I used to get in so much trouble.
I used to go
to Woolworths and Murphy's and buy Heavy Metal magazine rack and 1984 and later 1985. And then I'd get them home. My mom was like, "Oh, it's a comic book," because she liked me reading comic books because at least I was reading. And I'd get home, I'd be looking through them, and she'd come in and see me looking through them. There'd be boobs, and naked.
Oh yeah. Well, what's the artist's name? I think it's Corbin. Is it?
Corbin was one of them. Frazetta, yeah. Frank Frazetta used to do a lot of the old Conan covers, and
Frank Frazetta, yeah.
Yeah, Corbin was interesting because he used a lot of fluorescent.
Yes, and he did a couple of series and Milo Manera. Milo Manera was another one of my favorite. He did more comic book style art, but it was just so beautiful.
There's the other. God, it's killing me. Mobius.
Mobius was another good one. He did the comic book style sort of.
Yeah, and so intricate in Like he would do a city scene.
Oh yeah,
street scenes and things like that. If you remember.
And you know, I hate doing. I love drawing characters. I hate doing backgrounds. Okay, and just Mobius would sit there and do. There's this one comic I remember. It's beautiful because they were talking about Venice, and they were talking about all the different cities on Venice, and this one alien came to Earth to visit Venice. And he was wearing his encounter suit and had a space suit and all sorts of stuff. Right? And somebody mentioned the fact that he wasn't going to enjoy it because he was wearing a space suit. He was like, well, should I take it off? And they go, yeah. So he takes it off. And when he takes it off, he's sitting in his swim shorts and everything. And he's looking out. He's on a balcony of a beautiful hotel overlooking Venice. And he's like, wow. You know, and then just the fact that he'd been wearing a spacesuit his whole life because of where he was from. He'd never seen scenery like that before because of his spacesuit.
I love those magazines. I also what was it? Just all of the old 70s black and white newsprint monster magazines and things like that. The black and white.
Eerie and Creepy.
Thank you. Yes, Eerie and Creepy. Yeah, I love those.
Creepy. Oh, darn it.
The Warren,
Warren Publications. Dang, man, those were all. And Charlton and Warren had that like monster.
And
Bloody Vampire.
Yeah, what's her name?
Zombie.
What? Yeah. My God.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
Where's
about.
Red? White collar. Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh, I should have this memorized. Thank you.
Vampirella.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and those were great, great 70s inspirations. You know, it's funny because I didn't get into when I was younger. When I guess I would say around 7, 8, 9, 10. I liked Gold Key. Lone Ranger. All of those television show conversion comics and things like that. And then Marvel, the Star Trek comics.
Star Trek or Star Wars. I remember the original Star Wars comics coming out.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
and then they went off on that tangent after the first Star Wars
Marvel
came out. They went off on a little tangent, and they introduced several characters on their own. God, I wish that the films had carried some of those characters.
I agree. There's so much. Even
what, the Green Rabbit?
What's that?
The Green Rabbit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And the Star.
Wasn't he like
Mara Jade?
Mara Jade. Well, no, I'm trying to remember her name. The prostitute that became the bounty or the pirate, the space pirate. Somebody will tell me. We're pretty good about that.
Yeah, there's that whole even the Dark Horse Star Wars era. They got wiped away essentially. When Disney
the Timothy Zahn book.
It was a trilogy.
Splinter in the Mind's Eye, right?
Yes, they didn't carry that one. Of course,
that was Alan Dean Foster.
Yeah, Alan Dean. You're right. Alan Dean.
Splinter in the Mind's Eye, Alan Dean Foster, and they actually kind of used that in the Empire, Return of the Jedi. They sort of used that. That's where the Ewoks came from, sort of.
There's so much good material that got white. Well, I don't even get it.
Well, no offense. There was so much material out there they really had to wade through piles of it.
Sure. But I think they gave up in the three movies. Disney wasted some great opportunity to get a hold of those properties and tell some of those stories.
They actually use stuff on the sly that is from back in the day. When Lando Calrissian was reminiscing and dictating his memoirs into the vocal recorder, it was L. Neil Smith's Lando Calrissian trilogy of paperbacks from back in the 70s.
That was a neat little homage there.
Oh yeah, And I hope Neil got paid. I really do, because he's a nice guy. I don't agree with all of his politics, but he's a nice guy.
Let's leave politics out of this.
Oh, this is one of the ones.
Yeah, we don't.
I'd love to leave politics out of all of my life.
I try to.
I really expected our audience to be a lot larger because there's those two old guys on network TV that are just really
Well,
embarrassing the entire country.
Yeah, in my city right now, embarrassing themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband drove by and saw Air Force One this afternoon.
Don't make me break out the horse.
I bet you won't.
A horse?
I don't think you've got a hair I'll be darned, he did have the hair.
You done it now, boy.
I'm proud of you, Joe.
That's what we use when the.
I'll see it 10 minutes from now.
I didn't see it at all. That's weird.
Really?
I thought Skunk made another awkward breaker.
He did. He made several, actually.
Please, can we just calm the down?
Oops. Everybody's sound went quiet. I'm about to see the horse. That's what I get for using a phone company for an ISP.
Yeah.
If there's a wiener on that monitor, I swear to God, Stu.
Don't think you have a choice.
Hey, it's the only game in town.
That was the pre-show.
No, it's the only game in town. And if it's tiddlywinks instead of roulette, I've got to play. King me.
I opened up an old box of magazines that I'd collected when I was in the Army. I'd forgotten. It's one of those boxes. I sent it home, forgot all about it, and opened up the thing.
Now, really, Hustler's not that bad.
Has good cartoons.
Great letters.
Even worse, this was my 1990s collection of heavy metal magazines.
Oh Lord!
And I believe I'm not sure. I think they were They were either bi-monthly or quarterly back then. I can't remember which. But
okay,
in bi-monthly, I think.
John, when I was in A school at Great Lakes Training Center, our dormitories were actually more. I mean, our barracks were more like dormitories. It was 4 of us to a room. We shared a common bathroom on the hall.
Yeah.
But what we did, do you remember the full-page cartoons in Playboy magazine?
Vaguely, yeah.
The full-page cartoons?
Yeah.
We had one entire wall wallpapered with those. It was awesome. The CO, when he would come by to do barracks inspection, he didn't see most of what we had. He was like admiring our wall, and he like, all right, and left.
When we were stationed in Iraq, we had this thing called General Order Number 1. Okay. No alcohol, no pornography, all that stuff that you couldn't offend Muslims.
The moral rule.
We couldn't fly the American flag over our base because it might offend Muslims. And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
We went to this bunker that they had.
That's what they make nuclear weapons for.
And I go to my room in the bunker, and the entire ceiling, they're not allowed to have Playboy magazine, right? Or anything like that nature. The National Guard unit that was there before us used toothpaste to plaster the entire ceiling with pinups from Maxim magazine.
Nice.
Okay, yeah. So they were actually technically dressed.
And the room got nicknamed the G-Spot.
Oh, my.
Now, here's what's funny. The unit from the 101st Airborne Division, it was an artillery unit that was taking over our place. Their command sergeant major came in and said, I want all that shit torn off that ceiling. We all looked at each other and goes, we'll have fun doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, imagine telling that to a command sergeant major with the 101st Airborne Division or the 101st Airborne Division. And
I'd love to.
Well, I'm going to go talk to your colonel. Says his bunker's 2 doors over. Have fun. and we were like, we're leaving. We don't care what you say. And well, there's another story behind that. When they came in, their colonel and command sergeant major told them, "Your regular army do not listen to anything these National Guard troops tell you." Okay. Here's how I got
like that esprit de corps.
Here's how I got them to listen to what I said. I walked into their room, and the first thing I did is I walked over to their lieutenant, and I handed their lieutenant all my frag and thermite grenades. Said, "Sir, I never turned these in. I've kept them under my bunk the entire time I've been here. I need to turn them into you since you're the officer that's taking over." And most of these guys had never seen a frag grenade in basic training. Okay. And they're like, here's a guy juggling, frag grenades. And then I said, keep this. This is my shrapnel collection from all the IEDs we've been out to. And I would collect shrapnel from all. I pulled out one. Here's a nose cone from a 155 shell, and it's big jagged edges on the bottom of it. I said, these are the threads where the fuse would have been, but you can see that's the homemade C4 that the Iraqi terrorists put in there to blow it up. And here is my biggest shell splinter yet. And I pull it out. It's a foot long, about 2 inches wide, and it's just jagged metal. It's a strip from a 155 shell. I said, "Yeah, can you imagine that going through the door of a Humvee?" And I have their complete and undivided attention at this point. And what And what we're supposed to do is this left seat, right seat, right. That's what we call it. We take them out. We put them we put them in the safe seats on the vehicle, show them what we're doing. And then eventually we let them run the vehicle, and we just walk out and give them pointers while they're actually doing the mission. They didn't want to let us do that. That's what we got from the National Guard unit that we took over from, and they did a really good job giving us the left seat, right seat, right. These jackasses, because they were real Army, didn't want any of that. So they basically kicked us out of that bunker. We were out and took over ahead of. We had 2 weeks to train them. They didn't want it. And so they went out and started doing missions. First week they were there, they lost an entire Humvee full of soldiers. Just like that. 5 people dead, Humvee gone, just because they didn't listen to what we were trying to tell them. Because they're professional Army.
We had, you might even be familiar with this since you're familiar with ordnance disposal. We had the bomber in Austin about a year ago.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
So it's the same. We have a couple of our guys were on the Marshals task force, and he ultimately met his maker. But
blew himself up, didn't he? By accident?
Yeah. They well, that's. I think honestly, he thought
he may have done it on purpose. They're not really sure.
And he thought he was going to take some people with him, and it didn't work out in that way. But when you hear all the behind the scenes, and you will someday, that the story is too good not to see in a mini series or something.
I was just reading something about that the other day, where they were talking about the manhunt for him, and
it was
people he killed.
It was crazy, and I've never, luckily I was not intimately involved, but because we had our 2 task force guys involved, they were sending us pages, left and right, and the night that the guy finally was killed, the story of the interagency posturing is incredible.
Oh, God.
It made me so mad just to hear how they threw out there, or not everybody, I'm not going to completely generalize, but there were many situations where FBI, Marshals, APD, Austin Police, Texas Rangers, all these people were working in these siloed groups and
not working together.
Yeah, and on that day,
they wanted the headlines.
Absolutely, it was crazy. But it ended up the way it should have ended up, and it's again, somebody will hear that full story someday. But it's really sad. I hate that that positioning, that posturing, because that's not what the mission is. That's not the goal.
If they'd been working together a little better, they probably could have saved a lot of lives.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll just say yes to that.
Well, Jeff, we just had a situation here earlier this week where there was a guy from Dallas that was for some reason in East Ridge, Tennessee, and he had warrants back home. So he gets pulled over because he's on his cell phone. That's against the law here in Tennessee. This is against the law when you're driving.
Right.
So he got pulled over for that. He gets out of the car immediately. Starts
opens up on
fire
the
police officer.
Yeah.
Police officer hasn't even gotten out of the patrol unit yet, and he catches one in the cheek, one in the ear.
Oh, dang!
Yeah, and this guy hops in his Charger, whatever, a flip Dodge piece of crap it is.
Charger, yeah,
right.
And hauls ass. He winds up going to a wooded area behind an amusement park about a mile from my house. So I've got the 9mm, the shotgun. I'm ready in case he decides he wants to hide out here. But it was one of those situations where East Ridge Police, which is the jurisdiction where the officer got shot, Chattanooga Police, which Chattanooga surrounds East Ridge, and they kind of buddy up with each other. Catoosa County Sheriff's Department. And
this was right on the border. This was right on the border with Georgia.
Yeah, it's right on the border.
Wow.
I mean, literally less than a half a mile into Georgia from Tennessee. So you've got East Ridge, Chattanooga City, then you've got Catoosa County and Georgia State Patrol. Georgia State Patrol brings in their helicopter with FLIR. They got their SWAT team there. I mean, they chase this guy through the woods, but the thing is they all work together. And by morning, they got the guy cornered. He opened fire. They opened fire. Guess who won?
Yep. I noticed, in 30 years of police work, the police agencies, back in the 80s when Austin was the biggest police agency, and any agency that existed in that time had 6 to 8 officers in the satellite cities. So there was little or no interaction. But in my era, since the 90s and up to now, you have to work together. Your criminals are our criminals, and I am so happy that Cedar Park and Leander work very well with APD, and a lot of that has to do with you gotta give up some of your guys sometimes to go work on task force or just working groups, but they bring that cooperation back, and then on incidents like y'all experienced, you call like Austin Police and say, we got a guy in the woods. Can you send your helicopter? And less than 10 minutes they're there, and you don't have a helicopter in your we people would ask us sometimes when we had a helicopter out on police incidents, is my tax money paying for that helicopter? And we're like, come on, dude, it's Austin's.
Yes,
but they don't think we work together like that. But I think police departments and sheriff's departments, they understand that you have to. I think when you start mixing in feds, and I don't spit the name out when I say that, but when you have different federal agencies involved, FBI, DEA, ATF, marshals, those are all the guys that were down here. And when you get that in the cauldron, it's messy.
Yeah, it's a pissing contest.
Well, they did actually have the federal marshals involved. Tennessee Highway Patrol had their fixed wing for circling. And that's how they kept track of him, was through the fixed wing.
And I think Catoosa County had a drone up.
Yeah, Catoosa County.
A drone mounted with a FLIR.
I like that.
But what would happen is when the GBI helicopter had to go refuel, the fixed wing was orbiting high enough to where it looked like just air traffic flying by. And with the FLIR, they were telling that's when when the helicopter would go away, that's when he would move and they would shrink in on him. I was listening to it on Scanner. Somebody has a scanner page, a local scanner page.
I put a link to WDEF's coverage of that partially. One of the stories they did on it. I put it on the Stupid O'Clock page. So if Jeff wants to go back and look at it,
I will.
Kind of interesting.
But yeah, I actually listened to the whole thing, and I finally gave up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and probably.
And they shot him an hour later.
Yeah, they shot him an hour later.
Wow.
But he was taking pot shots back at them. They weren't.
He shot down a drone or 2 drones. I'm not sure which.
Just one.
Wow.
Just one. He actually shot
I know
drone
he shot.
there.
Yeah, I know he shot at it. I didn't know if he hit it or not.
Supposedly he hit one. I don't know if he actually, whatever. But
what kind of weapon was he using?
A rifle.
He had a pistol.
Well, they won't
rifle.
say exactly, but he did have a handgun and a long gun. So,
okay.
And
they did reference it as a high-powered.
He had a high-powered.
High-powered means what? 308.
Probably
30-06.
Hey, that's fairly high-powered. It's interesting that he waited until Joe Dog went to sleep.
Yeah.
Before he.
If Joe Dog's still been awake, he'd have been in trouble.
The same thing happens to us when we're watching Boca Chica.
Yeah.
The second that we go to sleep, boom, there's the static fire.
Yeah. We've been following the rocket situation down in Texas. And I'm willing to bet Heather still has that camera pulled up on her computer. You don't?
Nope.
Heather, I am very disappointed in you because
they just launched to Mars because Heather's not watching.
Mine is set up ready to go.
I was watching the fleet cam. They've got the booster in the air in Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's about to go horizontal.
Yeah, we're big. Me and Heather are big rocket nerds. We actually have a page here on Facebook called Armchair Rocket Science.
I like that.
I try and cover as much as I can with him, but school kind of gets in the way.
Yeah, if I was involved,
I filled in for you today on the scrub.
I appreciate it. He texted me. I'm at the health department, and he goes, "They went hold."
Yeah,
I was just like, "What happened?" They haven't said anything yet. Oh, it was because the camera wasn't working.
Yeah,
they scrubbed because the camera wasn't working. What's wrong with them?
If you don't have the camera, you don't have the publicity, and you don't have the interest.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
That's right.
Yeah, let's not talk about that one.
And that one's still sitting on a pad in New Zealand.
No,
are you guys? Have you watched The Right Stuff on Disney Plus?
I have, and I don't like the angle that they've taken. The movie much better. My wife and I watched the first 2 episodes, and we said no, we got to wash our brain out. We went back and watched the movie.
Yeah, the movie was really well done.
So where are they going?
I mean, they didn't ignore their indiscretions, but they didn't emphasize them like the show is.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
I think the show is just going too dark. Come on, let us have some heroes. Leave us some heroes.
So that's so they're killing our heroes. Okay, I see how it goes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I so agree with that. I'm glad I'm my age because I can be the old man sitting on his front porch shaking his fist at the kids in the street.
Yeah, I'm almost 61. I remember all this.
I had heroes.
Own an M1 Grand. Because you got to run out there in your front yard with M1 Grand and
that's right, shoot in the air. Get off my lawn. I throw empty beer cans at him as my.
That don't matter.
No, I agree. I'm so sick of, and I don't know. I mean, you see the trend. It can probably be even pinpointed to a time. Everybody says it's 9/11 and things like that. But I loved having heroes. Star Wars. I get up on my soapbox and I'll jump off. the early Star Wars, your heroes were heroes, and then the most recent ones, it's like completely a mess. To be honest with you, you don't have those solid heroes.
Jeff, I'm gonna give you an epiphany.
Okay, dope.
I have already thought about this, and I believe, I am 99% sure, I have pinpointed patient zero in our current cynicism, and that is Richard Nixon. Before Watergate, our country was innocent. After that, when our president fell, what hero could be trusted then?
But Nixon went to China.
I know, and only Nixon could go to China. But the thing is,
yeah, the trouble is he came back.
I've traced it all back, and that is the main focal point of our current cynicism and our disbelief of heroes is Richard Nixon.
I agree in that. I think, and there is a tendency to God, how do I say this? Okay, so heroes, villains. There's this weird tendency now to try to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, well, there are fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you. I just don't know how to respond to that. Here's a good example.
But I don't believe a word of it.
Again, you start. Okay, Maleficent. Has anybody watched that? Okay.
Yes.
So my age, Maleficent was a villain, a great, awesome, well-constructed villain, and now, most recently,
she's just misunderstood.
Absolutely, misunderstood.
I'll throw another one at you, just because he's kind of famous. Dr. Doom.
Yeah, when villains are starting to and you see that trend in
the trouble is,
do either of those?
The trouble is, every villain is the hero of their own story.
Well, that is true.
That is true.
But I don't want to hear the villain story. I need a hero.
We need a hero.
Galactus.
I'm with there too. I'm with there
too. Bring up
too.
that damn song.
You started it, Lewis. You put the bug in my head.
No, I do miss hero. I miss legitimate heroes. So I'm not going to sit here. I'll be a hypocrite if I don't admit this. I do like exploring the idea that a villain, in their perspective, thinks they're a hero. What I find sad, although I watch it, and maybe you guys, The Boys on Amazon.
Yep.
I've seen the first episode. I haven't gone any further yet.
Well, there's bits and pieces I enjoy, but now I'm so over it now. It's because where I've just looked around and I hate the cynicism. I hate the constant negative. I don't know. I sound like my age. I know it. I admit it. But I love the simple hero.
We're right there with you, bro.
I literally.
Have you got?
I'm looking at the TV and these two old farts that are arguing back and forth, and I'm like, I am so ready for November 5th.
Makes you feel a lot younger, don't it?
Back at you, Jeff.
All of the boys.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, those last few episodes that blow your mind.
Yeah.
Of this season.
That's too, yeah.
You know,
that's crazy.
Captain Picard once said, "The victors inevitably write the history."
You write the history.
Doesn't mean they're right. They just write it that way.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Brian K. Morris is saying, the horse, the horse, the horse. Of course, we don't need to play the horse because there's 3 minutes left. So
we got to play that.
Almost the end of the show.
Yeah, wait, where's? Okay, you do it, Joe.
Play the other horse by Hoyt Axton.
There we go. I saw that one.
So,
love it.
Scott,
I'll see it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, with about 2.5 minutes now, Jeff. Guess what? It's time.
Shameless plug time.
Shameless plug.
Yep. Shameless plugs.
Shameless plug.
Make me rich.
Yes. Make my retirement fill with money. No. Plasmafire Graphics. Plasmafiregraphics.com. Do book covers. Do promotional videos for your book. Love indie authors. Willing to work with you. Prices are extraordinarily reasonable. I'll put it to you this way. Why buy an off-the-shelf pre-made book cover when you can come to me and we'll work together and make your own book cover for probably less than that person would charge you. So, who has dogs? I love them.
I have 6 of them.
Okay,
Awesome.
I was trying to figure out where the dog was coming from.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out.
It's officially, it was officially potty time.
Not mine.
Who let the dogs out?
Woof,
My roommate.
woof. Okay.
All right, let's
love it.
So I guess we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up because there's like a minute and a half left. And
Yeah,
That would be a good
Joe,
reason.
shoot me
That'd be a good
Jeff's
reason to wrap it up.
email.
Yeah.
yes, I will get it to you, Lewis. But thank you, Jeff, for being here. We appreciate it.
That was great fun.
Jeff,
If you
Enjoyed listening to you.
if you've got anything else you want to add to Stupid O'Clock, I put 2 of your web pages up or whatever. Please add it to Stupid O'Clock so our viewers can see it.
Okay.
Or any other
Yeah.
random bits of
Or any
randomness.
other random, no nude pictures. Okay, no.
That's dangerous.
Not yet.
If-
Anyway.
Please.
We learned our
you wanna
lesson
hang
from Dan.
The after show, please do.
Yeah, if you want to come to the after show, I'll send you the link, and you can.
I will tell you this.
Yeah.
You are way past my bedtime. It is definitely Stupid O'Clock.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah.
And
That
we're
is-
an hour ahead of you.
I know. I love falling asleep in my recliner. That tells you how old I am. So.
Yeah. All right.
No, you're gonna fight me for Uncle Sleepy.
Yeah. And to the rest of the
Love
crew
it.
here, guys, thank you, because this show wouldn't be as exciting without all of y'all here. So I appreciate all of y'all. So we're going to wrap her up.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Thank you, and we
Thank you,
will
Jeff.
see everybody at the Stupid After Show. And
Not everybody, but
everybody.
Lewis,
I
let's
got
go with the
work.
real news.
I got work to do.
Yeah, you got to get the morning news ready.
I do.
All right.
Y'all be safe.
You too. Thank you, and good night, everybody.
Take care.
I have slept the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, when never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space. put out my hand and touch the face of God.